Hello everyone, thanks for joining me again for another video. We're going to take a little dive now into how to price your website design services. I think this is probably one of the most controversial topics in the field. It gets a lot of love and hate from designers themselves and their potential clients and everyone with an opinion on the World Wide Web, which is a lot of people. Back when I first started off, I tried to compete on price. I figured that was how I was going to get all the customers and basically nick them off everybody else locally. I guess in some ways that can work if you're looking for that type of client, and certainly for a few years that did me very, very well, to the point where I was just far too busy and I actually couldn't keep up with the amount of inquiries I was getting in. And I then began to kind of rethink my pricing strategy, rethink what we delivered, and change things around quite a lot. I went on a business course many years ago now, probably a year into starting my own business up. And the advice that I got from that was almost game changer to a degree. It's basically that you should start your pricing from the backwards perception of it. So work out what you want to earn in a year and then decide from there what your prices need to be. So back at that point, which is probably going back about 9 years from the date of this video, the recommendation was that if you were to look at your hourly rate, an hourly rate for your services should be £86 an hour, because by the time you take off all your expenses and your taxes on that, you were not going to be left with a lot at all. Now, I suspect that's changed considerably given the cost of living in recent times. But let's take an example there. So say you decide you want to earn £50,000 a year and work 42 weeks a year. So that's 10 weeks off, probably quite a lot for people that run their own business, but why don't we aim high? If you want literally in your pocket, before we actually consider taxes and expenses, then that pretty much works out where you need to generate £1,200 a week of work. So across a month, if we took that as 4 weeks, you're looking at £4,800 a month in income to actually generate your £50,000 a year income. If we consider what I tend to find as 30% on top of that to cover your expenses and taxes, then you are looking at around about £1,500 a week, or over £6,000 a month in actually new client generation. And that's quite a lot to get on. If you're looking at the low end of the market, say your websites are £1,000 each, then you've got to sell 6 of them a month or more to hit that £6,000 turnover. By the time you take your taxes off, you're down to your kind of £50,000 a year ideal income. That's quite a lot, not only in terms of sales to actually generate, but also websites to actually work on over that time frame. I would say from experience that's going to be pushing it a little bit possible. But certainly, over the year, if you're to do 42 weeks at 6 per month, even if it's literally 50 websites a year, if you've got the time and capacity for that one, brilliant. But I suspect that's not going to get you too far. And it will probably find you've got a limit on terms of what you can actually turn over there. However, let's take a huge jump, and let's say your websites are £5,000 each. You're now down to generating around about one and a half a month, which is not only can you give that client more focus and more of your time, but you've got less sale requirements. You don't have to generate as many sales in a year to get those clients and to get that turnover. Now, how do you then charge for these projects? So I started off many years ago offering monthly payments. So I basically split the cost of a website across 12 months equally and invoiced them per month for that. Works quite well. However, what you might find is some clients will disappear. They'll default on payments and you've actually delivered a project that you're not going to get paid for. Not saying it's common. I tended to find that was more common at the really low end of the market for pricing. But it happens even on the higher end sometimes. For whatever reason, the business changes, they close, whatever, and you may well have delivered something that you've then not got paid in full for. Still, it can be a model, and for some people it works really well. I've got a lot of clients from the past that's still on a monthly fee, but most people now have moved on to a different solution. So the alternative you've got from there is looking at splitting those payments up. So 100%, I would always recommend taking a paid deposit before you start anything. A lot of businesses, I say a lot, some over the years have tried to tell me that they don't pay creators up front, or they want to see the work before they'll pay for it. As far as I'm concerned, the work you've got to put in to deliver that is the same regardless of whether you get paid or not. So they need to pay for that time and for you to block out your time for them for their project. So I would, as a minimum, take a deposit before you start, alongside a contract, which you do need to have if you haven't got one. Really worth looking into. How you split those up is up to you. At the moment, I work generally on a 50-50 split, so 50% is due up front, 50% is due once the website is ready to build. However, in recent times, I've started to split that a little bit out on deliverable points. So recent project we've done at 25% splits on deposit. Then we've got a payment due on the designs being approved, payment due on the build being completed, and then a final payment due for the website to go live. So we've covered ourselves at every point to make sure that we don't lose out and that we get paid for the elements we've delivered up to that stage. So that it does depend on the client, but that's another alternative you've got. I have also now started to offer 100% upfront payments. Complete trial. I was talking to my mentor about this for a while and I've decided to give it a go. So we are at the moment offering a very small 5% discount for clients that want to pay upfront in full for the whole project. Just to see what happens on that one, really. It certainly changes the commitment level from them and for us. However, I know not everybody wants to do it that way, so it's a trial now just to see if anybody's interested in taking it that way forward. For some businesses, it's easier. They don't have to manage multiple invoices. For me, it's easier. I've only got to invoice once and that's through. So there are certainly benefits to that. How you do this for yourself is entirely your choice. I think as long as you stick to at least taking a deposit up front, you've got commitment from them and you've given your own commitment up that front to deliver something for that as well. When things change is if you scale your business up to a point where you're using subcontractors for certain terms and elements. So I work with some SEO consultants, some graphic designers, brand designers, copywriters, and I have to pay them out of the project fees. So at the moment, I will either add those as upfront full amount payments for those elements, or I'll build them into those phased payments as well. But what that will do is hit your profits and your actual income from there. So if you're earning £50,000 a year and all of a sudden you're now paying out half of your project costs to subcontractors, then your prices need to change to reflect that in your income. Otherwise, potentially you're going to lose money once you start doing that one. Potentially you can scale, so it may well be that your project profits for you come down a little bit. However, you can deliver more projects because you've got more people working on them, which is, the side effect of doing that way. But again, you've got to look at that yourself and decide the right way forward for you. The other element that I'm not sure how many people talk about really is looking at renewal options for clients. So I, from day one, offered hosting and support for all of my clients as part of the price. So whatever they pay me, they get 12 months of hosting, 12 months of support from me for changes, updates, manage the website, backups, firewalls, that type of stuff. And it allows them to email me, ask for a few changes now and again, whatever they want to do. If they want some support making their own changes, I'm there to ask as well. And the majority of my clients do stay with me past year one. So I think my retention rate will be in the very high 90s. I don't tend to lose clients on the renewals. I tend to lose them because the business is closed, not necessarily because they're moving off to somebody else, although that does happen as the way the world is. But the renewals base is a really solid way for you to grow your residual income, where the turnover each month before you even get any clients on board as new clients at that point. And roughly speaking, I'm at the stage now around about 40 to 50% of my turnover is those renewals. So I've got a relatively stable base of income I know I'm going to get, and that allows me to have a bit more time to focus on developing and building the business and focus on the clients we get at the moment and making sure that they get their needs delivered for their projects. So quite a few options there. I could talk on for ages about prices. There's so many more videos we can look at in terms of how to deal with barriers and people that want to pay less, whatever that goes with that, which I might come back to in the future. However, I hope that was helpful for you. By all means, drop any questions or comments below the video. If you've got any questions you'd like me to answer in the video about running your own design business or agency, let me know. I've been in my business now for over 10 years and I've probably been through the majority of issues that new designers and even longer standing businesses have been through in those times. So I hope this was useful. Let me know below, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.